Look at this. Just look at this pathetic old soldier out here playing cowboy on his dirt patch. That was the very first thing I heard Vivian Blackwood's voice sharp as a whip slicing right through the morning quiet. Every word soaked in the kind of snobbery you usually reserve for gum stuck on a designer heel. And you know what? I was just underneath my truck at that moment, wrench in hand trying to coax a stubborn bolt free, when her little convoy came rolling up my driveway, 4 black Escalades, not a speck of real dirt on them, till they decided to trespass on my land. You ever just watch people try to make an entrance? I saw 12 pairs of shoes step out in absolute formation, 11 pairs of high heels, 1 pair of fancy Italian loafers, all that pink, God, the pink fuchsia suits bright enough to scare the cows. You could tell these folks had practiced their little intimidation dance more than once. I stayed right where I was, sliding slow out from under my Ford, not hurrying. Making entitled people wait is one of life's little pleasures. My old shepherd Rex was tracking every move from the shop door, ears up, not a hair twitching. I finally stood, looked them all up and down. There at the front was Vivian herself, hands on her hips like she was modeling for real estate agents from hell. That hair, impossible blonde, teased into a shape that defied both gravity and good sense. Smile colder than a foreclosure notice. Garrison Thorne, she snapped like spitting something sour. I'm Vivian Blackwood, president of the Willowbrook Homeowners Association, and you're in violation of 17 community standards, effective immediately. I grabbed the old rag from my toolbox, wiping my hands slow and easy like they taught us in Kandahar. Show urgency in a standoff and you've already lost. I caught her eyes flicking down to the burn scars on my arm, scars that run all the way from my knuckles up to my elbow. Something flickered there just for a second. Not quite fear, but close. Ma'am, I said, keeping my voice steady, you just made the same mistake the Taliban did. You see quiet and think it means weak. Behind her, the fuchsia squad started shuffling. One young woman hugged her clipboard like a life vest. Vivian tried to brush it off. Your neighbors have filed 47 complaints, she went on. Rusted vehicles, unkempt fencing, unauthorized structures. This isn't Afghanistan, Mr. Thorne. This is a civilized community with standards. I looked at those 3 houses. She pointed to white siding, perfect lawns sitting out there on my Texas dirt like someone airlifted them in from Connecticut. Neighbors, huh? I said. You mean the 3 houses you built illegally on federal land? Let me tell you, silence has a sound. You could hear all 12 of them realize they just stepped in something deep. I pulled out my phone, tapped to an app, satellite maps, grid overlays. Things only old soldiers and surveyors really use. See this? I told her. Fort Bridger Training Grounds, 1962 to 87. My land is the old training grounds. Federal easements, federal rules. They outrank your HOA by, let's call it infinity %. Vivian's face went tight. She snapped her fingers, had 3 of her crew hand me a stack of papers. Clipboard woman started reading. Violation 1, grass height exceeds 3 inches. Violation 2, unauthorized flag display. And it just kept going. By violation 17, excessive dust generation, I was fighting not to laugh. I pulled out my tablet, snapped photos of every sheet. Interesting watermark, I said, zooming in. These were printed yesterday at 3:47 a.m. Do you always do HOA business in the middle of the night or just when you're faking violations? Her cheeks, flushed pink to red, clashed terribly with that suit. But here's the thing, her violations cited ordinances that didn't even exist. I'd pulled every public record the night before. You have 0 authority over land outside your boundaries and you're already under investigation for fraud, I told her. Case number 2024-7391, filed by your own homeowner. Seems that pool you promised turned into a new S-Class Mercedes for you. Her lawyer tried to pull her away, but she hissed, "You're lying." So I showed her one more file, 15 neighbors, federal case, misappropriation of funds. Her whole army started to lose formation. Vivian tried for one last insult. This ranch is an eyesore. You're dragging down property values. It's mine. I said since 48. My granddad bought it with GI benefits after World War II. My dad expanded it after Vietnam, and I've kept it going since Afghanistan. Every rusty truck on this land's got more history and honor in it than your whole development. I took 1 step forward, and just like that, her whole crew took 3 steps back. You don't have to be loud, you just have to be certain. Now I said, take your fake violations, your pink suits, and your delusions, get off my property. 30 seconds. She tried to threaten, dropping her husband's name, Conrad Blackwood, big shot, defense contractor. I finished her sentence for her. Yeah, I know exactly who your husband is. Silence again, different this time, heavy. I started counting down. 20 seconds. You haven't heard the last of this, she yelled as her lawyer finally dragged her away. We'll bury you in lawsuits. 15 seconds, I said, and the last of their intimidation act collapsed as they scrambled back to their Escalades. Vivian shouting, "This isn't over." Garrison, not by a long shot. They drove off in a cloud of dust. Rex came over, leaned against my leg. I scratched his ears, watching the road clear. The air felt heavy like right before a storm, but I wasn't worried. On my workbench was a thick folder. Every illegal permit Vivian ever pushed, every kickback to her husband's company, all the threads of corruption running through 3 counties. She thought this was about property values. She didn't know what kind of war she just declared. I called Bishop, an old friend from Fallujah, and owed me a favor. Information Bishop. On the Blackwoods, full financials, connections, everything. He just laughed. You and your personal interests. Give me 48 hours. 3 hours of peace. Fixed some fencing, replaced a gate, headed back to the house. That's when I saw them 6 pink-vested intruders in my southern field with measuring tapes and survey flags sneaking in on foot. I fired up my security system, military surplus stuff streaming to my phone. Watched them poke and prod, planting orange flags like they were staking out the moon. I walked over Rex at my side. Didn't even have to hurry. Stop right there, I called. You just triggered a federal security protocol. Phones out, dialed a code. Echo 77, this is Garrison Thorne. Unauthorized entry on restricted training grounds. They froze those old tunnels under the field. Told them some might still be active. Lie, but it worked. They dropped their gear and ran. An hour later, after burning their flags for kindling, the sheriff pulled up Magnus Pike, Vivian's cousin. He tried to come the hard cop, accused me of threats, said I made people fear for their lives. I just smiled. Magnus, did Vivian tell you she was trespassing? Or is family law more flexible? His hand hovered near his weapon. I pointed out my security cameras streamed straight to a federal database. Showed him my tablet old DOD interface still marked classified. Told him to run my name. He did. Came back white as a ghost. Protected federal witness. Priority protection status. That's right, I said. Testifying against defense contractors who got soldiers killed gets you that. Like Conrad Blackwood. I showed him the scars. Next time Vivian sends you, remember helping harass a federal witness is a federal crime. Your badge won't save you. He left in a hurry. Inside, I made more calls, reinforcements. The house was simple. Only real decoration was family photos. My granddad in uniform, my dad, my own squad. Sarah, my wife, lost to a drunk driver just after I testified against Blackwood Industries. Timing always felt off, but I pushed that away. Vivian wouldn't stop unless I made her. I started pulling everything, contracts, emails, photos, court docs out of cloud storage. Sent it to my lawyer, a journalist, a federal prosecutor who owed me. Evidence spread like tripwires. Just before sundown, another escalation, bulldozers and work crews in fuchsia vests lining up on my southern fence. Vivian was there in jeans now, but still rocking the pink blazer like battle armor. She waved a document. Emergency easement signed by Judge Patterson. Isn't that the judge under federal investigation for bribes, I asked? The one your husband donated $200K to the bulldozer guys were already looking nervous. How many of you are veterans? I called to the work crew. 4 hands went up. You know what Conrad Blackwood did, I asked. Sold armor that got soldiers killed. Those 4 dropped their vests and walked off. The rest quickly followed. Vivian, furious, called in private security 6 tough guys with earpieces. They tried to square up. I just lifted my shirt, showed them my unit tattoo. Their leader recognized it. You were at Roberts Ridge, he whispered. I nodded. He backed off, nodded respect, led his men away. Vivian stood alone, fists white. You've made a powerful enemy, she shrieked. And I've got something you'll never have on her, I told her. In the long run, that beats all the blood money you got. She called for more reinforcements. Next morning, the fog hadn't even lifted before a whole army showed up, 30 people in tactical pink Vivian at the front, with a megaphone. You have 1 minute to vacate this property before we execute emergency seizure. I just set 5 frames on the porch. Medals catching the light. Purple Heart, Silver Star Navy, Cross Air Force, Cross Medal of Honor, all real, all earned. I went back inside, unwrapped my old Remington 870 and walked out. Didn't point it at anybody, just worked the action chick chunk and let the sound roll. Federal property. You're trespassing and I'm authorized to defend it. The lead contractor paled. That's a real Medal of Honor, he whispered. The lawyer started backing away. Vivian tried to brush it off. Those can be faked. I called the Pentagon operator on speaker. Got a general to confirm every medal, every tour, my federal witness status. By the end of the call, half her army was gone. Your husband's about to be arrested for federal crimes, Vivian. RICO racketeering laundering through the HOA. You gave the last piece of evidence yesterday hiring mercenaries with HOA money. I told her to check her phone. 17 missed calls, 12 texts. Conrad Blackwood had just been arrested, accounts frozen, whole operation blown wide open. Sirens rolled in, feds swarming her supporters. Agent Vance stepped out with a warrant for Vivian's arrest, fraud, obstruction, witness harassment, the works. Vivian looked at me one last time, desperate. You don't understand. We had debts. We needed that land deal. You should have made an honest offer instead of trying to steal it, I said. They cuffed her. The project she risked it all for, canceled 6 months ago. She destroyed herself for nothing. The feds called it the biggest HOA fraud in Texas history, cartel connections, millions stolen. Blackwood got 25 to life, Vivian 15 years. A few weeks later, Magnus came to apologize. The HOA dissolved, money returned. They offered me a spot on the new neighborhood watch. I told them I'd think about it. No meetings, no pink. One night, Sergeant Crawford's mother came by. Her son died wearing Blackwood armor. She handed me his old unit patch. He'd want you to have it, she said. I didn't have words, just gratitude. The ranch healed. Grass grew back. The land was mine-free and clear, finally peaceful. But word spread. Other homeowners started reaching out, asking for help, advice, a little backup against their own HOA tyrants. Bishop called it the Garrison Protocol, legal, documented, steady. I found purpose again. Taught veterans how to fight with evidence, not bullets. My ranch became something more, a place where bullies in pink suits learned what real honor looks like. And when the sun sets over my land, painting the sky in those Medal of Honor colors, I know the war's over for now. But there's always another battle on the horizon, and as long as I'm here, nobody's taken this land or anybody else's without a fight. If you believe every neighborhood needs a guardian hit, share your story in the comments. And tell me, what does justice look like where you live? Because sometimes the smallest battles matter the most, and you never know when standing up for yourself becomes the blueprint for others to do the same.